Rentaro's friend tries to talk him off a ledge after his latest rejection. It's just one girl, no big deal, right? Except this is his 100th rejection in a row. Rentaro is a total mess, and his friend is basically calling him a deranged romantic monster at this point. Walking home, Rentaro can't help but dream of a normal love life, holding hands, cute fights, the whole deal. His friend honestly can't figure out why such a nice, athletic guy keeps getting shot down. Desperate, Rentaro heads to a local shrine to beg any god or angel listening for a high school life that doesn't involve constant heartbreak. Suddenly, a massive, wrinkly face pops right out of the donation box, scaring the absolute life out of him. This is the shrine god, and he's not a thief, he's here to deliver some destiny. He tells Rentaro that he's actually destined to meet his soulmate in high school. The god goes into full exposition mode, explaining that a soulmate is the most perfect romantic match anyone could ask for. Apparently, when these two people meet, they'll feel a literal shock and fall head over heels instantly. Rentaro is just happy to hear he's finally got some luck coming his way. But then the god drops the real kicker: Rentaro isn't getting just one soulmate. He's getting 100. Fast forward to the first day of high school, and Rentaro is hyped. He's walking through the halls when he accidentally collides with two girls. He ends up on the floor with Hanazono Hikari and Inda Karane. They lock eyes, and then it happens, the zing. That weird feeling from the shrine hits all three of them at once. Rentaro realizes these are the first two soulmates he was promised. Hikari claims she's sprained her ankle, looking all soft and vulnerable, while Karane just looks flustered and annoyed. Rentaro immediately bursts into tears, feeling terrible for hurting them on day one. Hikari is touched by his sincerity, but Karane acts like a total tsundere, insisting she doesn't need his help. He's freaking out, thinking he's some kind of monster who brings pain to everyone he touches. Next thing he knows, both girls are latched onto his arms. They start bickering over who gets to lean on him, leaving Rentaro completely stuck in the middle. They're hugging him so tight he can't even think straight. Between the scent and the closeness, he feels like the luckiest telephone pole in the world. They introduce themselves properly, and then Hikari mentions a rumor about a field of pink four-leaf clovers that guarantee love. The girls dash off to find the clover, completely forgetting their sprained ankles from a minute ago. 4 hours later, Rentaro finishes helping someone else and finds the girls are still out there, searching the grass with everything they've got. He finds Karane first, who's frantically digging through the bushes. She tries to play it cool, acting like she's just looking for a good place to do her business. Rentaro sees right through her and offers her a drink to help her cool down. She snatches it away, claiming she's only drinking it so it doesn't go to waste, but she's clearly touched. As she walks away, Karane manages one last blushing, "It's not like I'm grateful," before disappearing. Rentaro realizes she's a textbook giant tsundere. Then he tracks down Hikari and offers her a drink, too. She's much more appreciative, calling him kind. But then she gets a bit bold, asking if she can just have half of his drink. Rentaro realizes she's going for an indirect kiss and starts panicking. Hikari gets so flustered thinking about the kiss that she ends up spilling the entire can all over herself. Rentaro doesn't skip a beat and offers his handkerchief to help clean her skirt. Hikari is amazed by how considerate he is. She takes his hand, and Rentaro is practically melting. Her hands are so soft he can barely keep his cool. That's when Hikari goes for it, confessing that she fell in love the moment they met. Rentaro is so happy he's actually crying. But the moment is ruined when Karane shows up with a mountain of drinks she bought just for him. The two girls start arguing immediately. Karane tries to deny her feelings at first, but then she accidentally blabs her own confession. Now they are both standing there, faces red, demanding that Rentaro picks one of them right now. Rentaro is completely torn. He manages to buy himself one night to think it over, heading home to deal with the best dilemma of his life. Hours later, he's still losing his mind. He loves them both and honestly can't see himself choosing. The shrine god pops up in his room again to clear things up. He confirms that they are both legitimate soulmates. Turns out, the god accidentally added 2 extra zeros to Rentaro's soulmate count because he was distracted by a movie on TV. And here's the dark part, if a soulmate doesn't find happiness with their partner, they'll end up dying in a freak accident. Rentaro realizes he can't just pick one and let the other die. He starts plotting a way to secretly date them both at the same time. The next morning, he shows up to school looking absolutely wrecked. He spent the entire night preparing for this moment. The girls are waiting for his answer. Hikari asks if he's made up his mind, and Rentaro confirms he's ready as he starts to bow deeply. He comes right out and asks them both to be his girlfriends. Kurane is absolutely floored, screaming about how insane he is. Rentaro is practically begging them now. He knows it sounds crazy, but he's sure he can date both of them without either one ever finding out. Suddenly, he snaps. He starts headbutting the wall, calling himself an idiot for even thinking about lying to them after they were both so honest with him. Rentaro gets on his knees and confesses that he loves them both too much to choose. He asks them both to go out with him, promising to make them the happiest girls in the world. He pulls out 2 pink 4-leaf clovers, shocking the girls. They both spent hours looking and couldn't find a single one, yet he found 2 in one night. He admits he saw how hard they were working and just wanted to do something romantic. Kurane is still screaming, but Hikari is starting to look a little moved. Rentaro gives them the clovers with the most sincere, blushing face imaginable. It's so pure that both girls literally short-circuit and start screaming into the sky. Hikari is the first to cave, admitting she'd rather share him than lose him. Kurane is still having a mental breakdown over the whole polyamory thing. Kurane eventually gives in too, though she does it with a classic tsundere threat to ruin his life if he doesn't treat her right. Rentaro is overjoyed. The god's voice chimes in, reminding us that while Rentaro is happy now, he's still got 98 more soulmates headed his way. This is going to be a very crowded relationship. The next morning, Rentaro's dream of walking to school with his girlfriend finally comes true, except there are 2 of them. Kurane is already complaining that people are staring. They both grab one of his hands, and Rentaro is losing his mind. He's actually holding hands with 2 real, live girls at the same time. Kurane gets super flustered and tries to pretend she's only holding his hand because of static electricity. Rentaro just rolls with it, happy to be electrified. Hikari turns up the charm, asking Rentaro to call her by her first name. He's so overwhelmed by her sparkle that he can barely get the words out. Kurane gets jealous and demands he use her first name too. They both end up screaming his name at the top of their lungs, drawing a lot of unwanted attention. They notice a student running for his life down the hall. Hikari explains that the vice principal is a total monster about school rules. The vice principal, known as the supersonic spinster, is an ex-athlete who hunts down rule breakers and assaults them with unwanted French kisses. Rentaro is rightfully terrified. They head to the rooftop for lunch, and Hikari brings up a very important question: has Rentaro ever kissed anyone before? The answer is a hard no. Both girls immediately realize that whoever kisses him first gets his first kiss. The competition is officially on. Hikari starts by offering him some of her homemade egg. Kurane isn't about to be outdone and shoves a cookie into his mouth so hard he can barely breathe. Rentaro's first day lunch is turning into a battlefield. Hikari breaks out a box of Pocky, suggesting they share a stick. Rentaro is confused until he realizes she's trying to start the Pocky game. She gets incredibly close, and Rentaro is blushing like a tomato. He's totally frozen as she nibbles her way toward his lips. Kurane panics and tries to stop Hikari, but she ends up headbutting Rentaro right in the eye instead. The poor guy just can't catch a break. Rentaro sneezes, and Kurane immediately claims he's caught a cold. She says the only way to cure it is to pass it to someone else through a kiss. She leans in for the cure, but Hikari jumps in to check his fever with her lips instead. Rentaro is stuck between 2 very aggressive doctors. Rentaro finally calls them out on their obvious schemes. He's flattered they want to kiss him so badly, but he wants their first kiss to be something special. Karane gets embarrassed and denies everything, while Hikari just smiles. Rentaro realizes they were fighting because they couldn't decide who should go first. He admits he stayed up all night thinking about how to handle this exact situation. He wants both of them to be the happiest girls in the world. Rentaro presents his master plan to solve the first kiss dilemma. He's devised an elaborate, completely fair system so no one feels left out. His goal is for them both to feel like they equally shared his first kiss. It involves music, blindfolds, and a whole lot of randomness. He explains that he'll put on headphones and play a song at max volume while they decide where to stand. He won't be able to see or hear a thing. The system gets even more complex with dice rolls to determine which side he starts on. He's basically turned kissing into a high-stakes tabletop game. By the time it's all over, Rentaro won't have any idea who was on which side or who he kissed first. It's the ultimate fair play maneuver. Hikari is impressed by his dedication, but Karane is still skeptical about the whole liar game vibe he's got going on. Rentaro makes them pinky promise not to cheat by taking off their blindfolds. He's taking this way too seriously, but his heart is in the right place. The game begins. Rentaro rolls the dice and realizes he has to start on the left. He's blindfolded and shuffling toward where he thinks the girls are. He finally makes contact with one of them. He can't see who it is, but he's going in for the kiss, completely unaware of what's about to happen. Suddenly, he feels a jolt and realizes something is very wrong. He rips off his blindfold and sees that Karane has been replaced by a cat. Wait, it's not a cult ritual, it's just a stray cat that wandered onto the roof. Karane is absolutely horrified that he almost kissed a feline instead of her. Karane starts screaming at him, calling him a sick pervert for nearly kissing a cat. Rentaro is just trying to apologize while the cat seems totally unbothered. The whole situation turns into a chaotic mess of headbutts and insults. Rentaro ends up on the floor, looking like he's just survived a war. They eventually calm down and realize the rooftop is probably too windy and public for their first kiss anyway. The perfect plan was a total disaster. The girls start bickering again about whose fault it was. Rentaro bows down, taking all the blame, and calls himself a useless, inexperienced boyfriend. Rentaro sprints down the hallway, desperately trying to put distance between himself and the terrifying threat lurking in the school. Hikari and Karane call out to him in confusion as he makes his escape. The vice principal, also known as the supersonic spinster, lunges out with a monstrous expression and her tongue wagging. She corners Rentaro, intent on delivering her dreaded whip of love, much to the horror of the observing girls. Karane snaps and launches a ferocious attack on the vice principal, putting her in a headlock to save Rentaro from a fate worse than death. She screams at the freaky old crone to get away from her boyfriend. Hikari quickly devises a plan and shouts about a fictitious auditor from the Board of Education being nearby. The vice principal, terrified of losing her job and her host club funds, skitters away with supernatural speed. Rentaro drops to his knees in a deep bow of apology, feeling guilty for making the girls fight over him. He declares that he'd rather sacrifice his own first kiss to the monstrous vice principal than see Hikari and Karane unhappy. The two girls are completely taken aback by his extreme selflessness, their faces turning bright red. They both shout that they'd much rather let the other girl have his kiss than let it go to the vice principal. Rentaro is deeply moved by their kindness, realizing that despite their bickering, they truly care about one another's happiness. He sees a path forward where they can all be happy together. Overwhelmed with love, Rentaro pulls both Hikari and Karane into a sudden, tight embrace. While they are initially shocked by his boldness, he excitedly announces that he has come up with his best plan yet. Rentaro reveals his perfect solution, a simultaneous three-way kiss where everyone participates at once. The girls' imaginations run wild as they realize this means they'll be kissing each other as well as him. Karane and Hikari are absolutely floored by the suggestion, screaming in a mix of embarrassment and disbelief. Rentaro clasps their hands firmly, his eyes full of determination as he begs them to believe in his vision for their relationship. The three of them stand together in a moment of quiet connection, their hands intertwined. It's a strange and unconventional start, but the bond between them is undeniably strong. A few days later, Rentaro visits the school library and encounters a tiny, delicate girl with long brown hair. This is Yoshimoto Shizuka, who appears to be searching for something among the vast shelves of books. Karane and Hikari are secretly tailing Rentaro, watching his every move with narrowed eyes and jealous pouts. They notice him helping the new girl and immediately start to fume with suspicion. As Rentaro reaches out to help Shizuka with a book, their fingers brush against each other, and a literal bolt of lightning strikes between them. Rentaro realizes with a start that he has found his third soulmate. Shizuka is extremely shy and avoids eye contact, instead using a library book to communicate. She points to a specific line of text to speak for her, leaving Rentaro slightly confused by the archaic phrasing. He notices the librarian armband on her sleeve and realizes she's a library assistant. She continues to flip through pages with practiced speed, using the written words of others to navigate the conversation. Shizuka uses a line from a novel to answer his questions, her face hidden behind the book. Rentaro realizes that she finds normal conversation incredibly difficult and relies on literature to express herself. The two continue their unique exchange, with Shizuka pointing to apologies and explanations found within the pages. Rentaro patiently follows along, trying his best to understand the silent girl. Rentaro asks her for a recommendation for a romance novel with a happy ending. Shizuka gives a small, shy nod and immediately begins scurrying around the library to fulfill his request. He watches in awe as the tiny girl darts back and forth between the shelves, her long hair flowing behind her as she works tirelessly to find the perfect books for him. Shizuka returns with a massive stack of books, dropping them onto the table with a heavy thump. Rentaro is touched by her effort and decides he wants to read every single one of them. When Shizuka tries to check out the books for him, she discovers her library card is invalid or she has some bureaucratic hurdle. She is devastated, but Rentaro kindly offers to borrow her own personal copy of a book instead. Rentaro thanks her warmly, and Shizuka is so flustered she can barely stand. He introduces himself properly as Ijo Rentaro and learns that they are actually in the same class. That night, Rentaro stays up late reading the book she lent him, a tragic romance called Circlet Love Story. He finds himself deeply moved by the emotional struggles of the characters. The next day in class, Rentaro returns the book, admitting he was so captivated that he read the whole thing in one sitting. Shizuka is visibly moved by his genuine interest in her favorite story. Rentaro asks Shizuka to come with him so he can return the sequel she also gave him. Meanwhile, Hikari and Karane watch from the doorway, their jealousy reaching a boiling point as they see him getting closer to another girl. Sitting together on a park bench, Shizuka explains through her book that she has always lived through stories because she felt she didn't belong in the real world. She reveals that she has never had a person she could call a friend until now. She expresses deep gratitude to Rentaro for not shunning her because of her strange way of communicating. Rentaro looks into her eyes and sees a reflection of his own past loneliness. He realizes how much Shizuka has suffered and feels a strong urge to protect her and make her happy. He asks to borrow the next volume of her favorite series, promising to return it as soon as possible. Shizuka gives him a small, hopeful smile, feeling a connection she's never felt before. Over the next few days, Rentaro remains incredibly busy, staying up late for reasons he keeps secret. Shizuka waits for him in the library, her thoughts constantly drifting back to him. A painful memory flashes through Shizuka's mind of a girl yelling at her to just talk normally and calling her creepy. The trauma of being rejected for her silence still haunts her. Rentaro finds Shizuka in the library after her duty ends. He looks tired but has a bright expression as he tells her he has something important to show her. He asks her if she has a smartphone and, after she nods, he hands her a small SD card. He instructs her to install a specific app and copy the data from the card onto her phone. Shizuka is stunned to discover it's a text-to-speech app, and Rentaro has painstakingly typed every single word from her favorite book into it so she can use the characters' voices to speak. Rentaro explains that now they can look each other in the eye while they talk, rather than having to stare at a book. He acknowledges that it's not a perfect replacement for her own voice, but he wanted to make things easier for her. He reassures her that he will never pressure her to talk out loud and that he just wants to help her communicate with others more easily. His sincerity is overwhelming for the shy librarian. Using the app for the first time, Shizuka selects a phrase and the phone speaks for her, saying, "I love you." The words echo in the quiet room, catching Rentaro completely off guard. Overcome with emotion, Rentaro takes her hands and confesses that he loves her too. Shizuka begins to cry tears of joy, realizing she has finally found someone who truly understands her. Rentaro brings Shizuka to meet Hikari and Karane, nervously asking for their permission to add her to their relationship. The two girls react with predictable shock, wondering if he has completely lost his mind. Hikari eventually breaks down in tears of relief, glad that he's being honest rather than trying to hide it. Karane continues to shout, though it's clear her anger is more about the absurdity of the situation than actual malice. Rentaro remains steadfast in his commitment, even when Karane jokingly tells him he should commit seppuku to atone for his greed. He declares that the love triangle has officially become a rectangle, and with 97 soulmates left to find, his journey is just beginning. Rentaro introduces Hikari and Karane to his new girlfriend. Karane's got that whatever look, while Hikari tries to be welcoming. Shizuka uses her phone's text-to-speech to talk, which confuses Karane. Rentaro explains she uses book quotes to communicate. Rentaro starts pointing out all their cute habits. Karane twirls her hair when she's embarrassed, and Hikari can't stop fidgeting with her fingers. Shizuka finds a quote about osculation in her book. Rentaro realizes she's asking about kissing and asks if she wants to try it. Shizuka quickly pivots, using a quote about staying pure until marriage. Rentaro's cool with it, telling her they can just go at her pace. At lunch, the girls start competing to feed him. Rentaro's got food coming at him from 3 different directions and only one mouth to work with. Rentaro stayed up all night studying how to make them all best friends. He pulls out a deck of cards, ready to put his plan into motion. He suggests a game of Old Maid where the winner gets to tickle the loser. He figures a little shared laughter will break the ice. Round 1 ends with Karane in last place. She tries to act tough, telling him to do his worst like it won't affect her. It definitely affects her. Rentaro goes all out, and Karane's tough girl persona melts into a mess of squirming and giggling. Hikari is the next loser. She immediately starts unbuttoning her shirt, thinking this is a much lewder game than it actually is. When Rentaro finally tickles her, she has a reaction so intense she calls it ecstasy. Rentaro's just confused and a little concerned. Round 3 goes to Shizuka. Rentaro is genuinely curious how a quiet girl like her handles being tickled. She ends up laughing through her phone's electronic voice. Rentaro finds the dedication to her book quotes absolutely hilarious. The girls are fired up now. They all want to win so they can be the ones doing the tickling to Rentaro for a change. He finally loses, and the girls look like they've won the lottery. Shizuka steps up to claim her prize while he braces himself. Instead of a tickle attack, Shizuka just gives him these tiny, adorable pokes. Rentaro's surprised by how gentle she is. Karane sees this and realizes they are dealing with a natural-born pet archetype. She's worried she can't compete with that level of pure cuteness. Rentaro heads off to find a bathroom, leaving the 3 girls alone on the roof. The silence is pretty heavy. Karane breaks the tension by staring Shizuka down. She wants to know why the librarian is being so distant. She calls Shizuka out for holding back. She knows the girl wants to be closer to Rentaro but is acting like a scared stranger. Hikari joins in, telling her there's no reason to hide. Karane's blunt about it, she's a girlfriend now, not some random side girl. Shizuka finally snaps and admits she's terrified. She feels like she's surrounded by goddesses and doesn't belong with them. Karane is taken aback by the confession. She didn't realize Shizuka was dealing with that much self-doubt. Hikari thinks the whole thing is just too adorable. She grabs Shizuka, telling her she's plenty cute in her own quiet way. They agree that they should all be on first-name basis from now on. Even Karane offers a rare apology for being so aggressive. Rentaro watches the bonding moment from the doorway. He's relieved his plan actually worked better than he hoped. He realizes that if they're going to be honest with each other, he has to be brave enough to handle all their feelings too. He joins them again, ready for another round, but Shizuka has a different request this time. She tosses the "staying chaste" quote out the window and admits she really wants to be kissed. Rentaro is more than happy to hear that. He tells her he was hoping she'd say something. He starts petting her head, and Shizuka snuggles into his hand like she never wants him to stop. He leans in and gives Shizuka her first kiss. It's a sweet, quiet moment that seals their bond. The other two girls are watching from the side, completely dazed by the sudden romantic turn. Hikari can't stay on the sidelines for long. She strikes a pose, asking if he thinks she's as cute as Shizuka. Rentaro doesn't hesitate. He tells all of them they're the cutest girls in the world, which is exactly what Hikari wanted to hear. He gives Hikari her kiss, leaving her in a total trance. Now it's just the blonde twintail's turn. He whispers that Karane is adorable when she's flustered. She immediately starts punching him, screaming, "Dummy," to hide her blushing face. He manages to catch her for a kiss anyway. She tries to act tough afterward, but her face is beet red. Rentaro looks at his three amazing girlfriends, feeling like the luckiest guy on the planet. They're all so different, but he loves it. Fast forward to exam results day. Everyone's crowded around the board, but Rentaro is more focused on the quiet girl leaving the room. He meets Nano Iai, the top student in school. She doesn't even bother checking the results because she knows she's perfect. To her, everything else is just a waste of time. Rentaro is checking the exam results when he gets hit with that soulmate feeling all over again. He looks over and sees a girl who looks like she walked right out of a high-end shampoo commercial. While he's distracted, his current harem shows up. Shizuka, Karane, and Hikari are all proud of their scores, but they're completely eclipsed by the top student, Nano Iai, who got a perfect 700. In biology class, Rentaro gets paired up with the genius herself. He's trying to be a good partner, but he's mostly just stunned by how elegant and intense she is. Nano has zero interest in the actual lab work. She thinks microscopes are inefficient and just starts copying the results straight out of the textbook to save time. She's not even looking at the onion cells. She's just staring into the lens at nothing, telling Rentaro that the book's data is much more reliable. Rentaro accidentally nicks his finger, and Nano doesn't miss a beat. She grabs his hand and licks the cut, claiming that saliva is nature's best disinfectant. Rentaro is basically having a heart attack from the physical contact. Nano is completely unfazed, treating his finger like a science experiment while he tries to remember how to breathe. After class, Rentaro tries to be a gentleman and offers to buy her a drink. Nano shuts him down instantly, calling soda an inefficient way to hydrate. She gives him a whole lecture on how fun is a waste of time because it doesn't raise your grades or improve any useful metrics. She leaves him standing there, calling their entire conversation an unproductive use of time. Rentaro's starting to realize this soulmate might be a tough nut to crack. Later on, Nano is in the study hall, and she's working so hard it's actually scary. Rentaro stops by to thank her again, but she's barely listening. She's clearly frustrated, her pen even snapping under the pressure. She's trying to calculate why she feels so irrational whenever he's around. She's spiraling, trying to find a logical reason for why she licked his finger. To her, any action without a clear benefit is just a bug in the system. She's huffing and puffing over her math sheets, deciding that this Rentaro problem needs to be resolved once and for all. Nano corners Rentaro and flat out tells him she's attracted to him. He's happy for about half a second before she tells him they should never speak again. She wants him to reject her so she can go back to being a living computer. She's trying to optimize her heartbreak. She tells him romance is just a biological distraction for students. In her mind, there's absolutely no reason for them to date. Rentaro isn't having it. He's been rejected 100 times, so he's an expert on meaningless effort. He tells her that trying is the only thing that actually matters. He's giving a passionate speech about love while the periodic table hangs in the background like a witness. Nano realizes she won't get closure that easily. She admits she needs some kind of proof to help her give up on him for good. Rentaro makes her a deal. Give him just one day. One date to prove that having meaningless fun is actually worth it. When the day comes, Nano shows up in casual clothes and looks absolutely incredible. Rentaro is so overwhelmed he's practically weeping with joy. At the park, Nano calls the merry-go-round an equestrian simulator. She even hates the instant camera because it doesn't save digital negatives. In the haunted house, Rentaro is screaming his head off, but Nano is just pointing out that the ghosts are just guys in cheap rubber masks. She looks at the teacup ride and calls it a brainwashing machine. She genuinely doesn't understand why anyone would want to spin around in a giant cup. Next is the maze, but instead of walking it, Nano wants to survey the layout to find the most efficient path to the exit. She's taking the fun right out of it. They get on the Ferris wheel, and Nano finally shows a crack in her armor. She's shaking because her survival instinct is screaming about the height. Rentaro moves over to sit next to her, and Nano ends up grabbing his arm for dear life. Her logical responses are finally starting to fail her. As the sun sets, they look at the photos they took. Nano looks like she's at a funeral in every single one of them. She tells him the experiment was a failure. To her, it was just a meaningless day that produced nothing of value. Rentaro agrees with her. If it was truly meaningless, then the photos are just trash. He pulls out a lighter and offers to burn them right there. Nano stares at the pile of memories. Rentaro is ready to erase their entire day if she really doesn't care about it. Just as he's about to flick the lighter, Nano lunges forward and grabs the photos. She can't let him destroy them. Rentaro catches her in the act. He tells her she's afraid of losing them because deep down, she knows today was special. Nano finally breaks down. She admits she doesn't want the day to be meaningless. The tears are proof that her logic finally lost to her heart. Once she dries her eyes, she goes right back to her efficient self, cleaning him up with her handkerchief and even doing the saliva thing again. She officially asks to be his girlfriend. She wants to spend more time learning about all the meaningless things she's been missing out on. Rentaro reaches out, welcoming her into the group. It took a whole day of logic-defying fun, but he finally won her over. Nano doesn't waste any time and goes in for a kiss. For her, if you have a goal, you should achieve it as efficiently as possible. Rentaro is in a daze while a mascot in the background is having a minor existential crisis watching them. Rentaro breaks the news to the other girls, and they are definitely not happy about the new addition. Nano suggests he should just poison himself for efficiency. Hakari is fuming because Nano got a private date first. She pulls out her phone and finds the biggest pool ever, deciding they're all going there next. Karane stares at herself in the mirror, feeling a bit out of place in her school uniform while everyone else is getting ready for the pool. She thinks about Rentaro and hopes he'll like how she looks, even if she's too shy to admit it. The day finally arrives. Rentaro is buzzing with excitement as he sees the massive crowds at the new pool. He's ready for a fun-filled date with all his girlfriends. Hakari and Nano show off their stunning swimsuits, looking absolutely incredible. Nano, ever the logical one, even brought her textbook to read by the pool. Poor Shizuka is looking a bit overwhelmed by the whole situation. Rentaro is practically moved to tears by how cute his girlfriends are. He's especially touched by Shizuka's modesty, wearing her school gym clothes to the water park. But wait, where's Karane? Karane finally shows up, but she's still wearing her school sweater over her swimsuit. She claims she's just cold, but it's clear she's just too embarrassed to show off her new outfit. The girls try to encourage her to take it off, but Kurane isn't budging. She's being her classic tsundere self, even giving a little kick when Rentaro gets too close. The group jumps into the massive whirlpool, which is flowing quite fast. Shizuka is caught in the current and starts spinning around uncontrollably, looking like a little doll in her floaty. Hikari, being her usual flirtatious self, decides to use the current to her advantage and presses herself right up against Rentaro. He's trying his best to stay decent, but it's not easy with her around. Nano, not wanting to be left out, decides that demonstrating her feminine appeal is the most efficient course of action. She joins in on the squeezing action, much to Rentaro's overwhelming shock. Rentaro is pushed past his limit. Between Hikari and Nano's combined efforts, he actually faints right there in the pool. The girls are horrified and immediately scramble to save him. Hikari is about to give him mouth-to-mouth resuscitation when Nano steps in, claiming it would be more efficient for her to do it. The two of them start arguing over who gets to save him while Rentaro remains unconscious. Meanwhile, poor Shizuka has been swept far away by the strong current. She's completely lost and has no idea how to get back to the others. She's truly become a castaway in the middle of the pool. Shizuka finds herself on a tiny island in the middle of the whirlpool. She tries to use her phone to call for help, but she's too shy to even use the text-to-speech feature out loud. Back with the others, Hikari and Nano are still panicking. They decide the most logical thing is to find a staff member to help them resuscitate Rentaro. They are all running as fast as they can. As they are running, they are suddenly intercepted by a group of rowdy-looking guys. They are clearly looking for trouble and start hitting on the girls, much to their annoyance. The guys aren't taking no for an answer and start grabbing at Hikari's arm. She's trying to get away, but they're being incredibly persistent and creepy. Nano and Hikari aren't about to take this lying down. Nano prepares to efficiently disable their attackers, while Hikari is ready to fight back as well. Things are about to get intense. The guys are taken aback by the girls' fierce response. They are starting to realize they messed with the wrong crew. Meanwhile, Kurane is still struggling with her own embarrassment back by the pool. Nano decides the most efficient solution is for her to stay behind and distract the guys while Hikari goes to find help for Rentaro. She's willing to sacrifice herself for her friends. Hikari is hesitant to leave Nano alone, but she knows Rentaro's life is on the line. She promises to come back as quickly as she can with help. Just as the guys are about to close in, Rentaro suddenly appears. He's somehow regained consciousness and is ready to protect his girlfriends from anyone who dares to bother them. Rentaro uses his iron claw grip technique to grab the leader of the group by the head. He's absolutely furious that anyone would try to lay a hand on his precious girlfriends. The guys are completely shocked. They can't believe this guy is dating both of these beautiful girls. They demand he prove it by kissing them both right then and there. Without missing a beat, Rentaro grabs Nano and gives her a big kiss. He's not about to let these guys disrespect his relationships. The guys are absolutely flawed. He then moves over to Hikari and gives her a kiss as well. The guys are losing their minds, convinced they've stumbled upon some kind of crazy polyamorous cult. They are getting out of there as fast as they can. With the trouble settled, Rentaro and the girls finally reunite with Kurane. But they quickly realize that Shizuka is still missing. They all start panicking as they head back to the whirlpool to find her. Rentaro dives back into the whirlpool, shouting Shizuka's name at the top of his lungs. He won't rest until he's found her and made sure she's safe and sound. He finally spots her on that tiny island and rushes to her side. Shizuka is so relieved to see him that she practically bursts into tears. Rentaro apologizes profusely for leaving her behind. Rentaro carries Shizuka back to the others, who are all overjoyed to see her safe. They've finally all been reunited, and they can finally start enjoying their day at the pool properly. Shizuka is so happy she finally found her voice and shouted for Rentaro herself. She's starting to gain more confidence, thanks to him and the other girls. As the day winds down, Kurane is still sitting by herself, feeling a bit left out. Rentaro notices and comes over to check on her. He's always looking out for all of them. Rentaro sees through Karane's tough exterior and realizes she was just feeling insecure about her own swimsuit compared to the others. He tells her how incredibly cute she looks, which makes her blush furiously. Karane finally takes off her sweater, revealing her adorable frilly swimsuit. Rentaro is absolutely smitten. He tells her she's just as beautiful and special as any of the other girls. They share a tender moment together, with Karane finally letting her guard down a little bit. She's so happy that Rentaro loves her for exactly who she is, even with her prickly personality. Rentaro gives her a warm hug, telling her that nobody is better or worse than the others. They are all uniquely beautiful and he loves them all more than anything in the world. As they hold each other, Karane can feel Rentaro's heart beating just as fast as her own. It's a truly special moment that they'll both remember for a long time. The chapter ends with a close-up of Karane, looking absolutely adorable and more in love than ever. Rentaro is truly the luckiest guy in the world to have these 4 amazing girls by his side.